This was, and arguably still is, one of the most dangerous things on the planet, and it probably won't surprise you where it resides. After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, the elephant's foot was formed when nuclear fuel and parts of the nuclear reactor core structures overheated and melted, forming a mixture called corium. The corium produced at Chernobyl was nicknamed the elephant's foot because it's shaped like an elephant's foot. It is estimated that the 2-ton structure reached a temperature of 4,713 degrees Fahrenheit or 2,600 degrees Celsius, which is about half the temperature of the surface of the sun, and to this day, 38 years later, it is still burning through the concrete base of the power plant. Although it's gotten a lot less lethal over the years, if you were to stand near it for no more than 5 minutes, you would get a lethal dose of radiation and die. When it was freshly formed, it was so deadly that being around it for only 30 seconds would cause dizziness and fatigue. After 2 minutes, your cells would start to hemorrhage and you would not make it past 5 minutes. The worrying part is that the corium is in a potentially unstable state, which makes it hard to handle, package, and store. To remove it, we would have to break it up, which would generate radioactive dust, and that would be a hazard to the workers or possibly even the environment. What we do know is that the elephant's foot is likely not as active as it was, but it's still melting down and remains highly radioactive.
When a teenager disappeared with her fugitive boyfriend, people feared she was dead. Absolutely nobody expected what had actually happened. It was April 2023 and Caitlin Coons was living in a foster home in Ohio. She had a history of running away and again disappeared on the month in question. A huge search began for not only Caitlin but her 33-year-old boyfriend. This was Jonathan Jones. Now, Jonathan lived at home with his mum Nicole, who reportedly disapproved of their relationship. Caitlin was obviously way younger than Jonathan, so understandably Nicole was uncomfortable with this. The search for the pair was an anxious one. Jonathan was actually wanted on child endangerment charges and indecent images. Police also considered Caitlin to be an endangered child. Posts with the pair's faces on flooded social media as members of the public desperately tried to help. Many worried that Caitlin was in harm's way. The following month, though, some apparent good news. The couple had been tracked down, both alive, at the Mexican border. However, things were far from over and the case would start to get darker than anyone could have imagined. While the couple were missing, social services had phoned police. They'd received a shocking text from Caitlin's phone. She told the staff she'd killed 2 people and was on the run. It transpired that on the 18th of April, Caitlin had run away from the foster home. She'd made her way to Jonathan's mum's home with Jonathan. Now, Caitlin had resentment towards Jonathan's mum, Nicole. She felt that she was interfering with them being together. Caitlin gave Jonathan an ultimatum: kill his mum or she would kill her. She told him he had 5 hours to take action. He actually didn't, so eventually Caitlin took matters into her own hands. Caitlin bludgeoned Nicole to death with a rock and strangled her. The couple then went to the shop and bought bin bags and cleaning supplies. They horrifically both drove and got some food and ate the food together while Nicole's remains were in the boot of the car. They then drove the remains to some large bins by some apartments. Now, tragically, Nicole's remains have never been recovered and are presumably in landfill somewhere. Caitlin and Jonathan both pleaded no contest to aggravated murder and abuse of a corpse. They were both sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Caitlin argued that she did not send the text that admitted to 2 murders.
Lava lamps are actually used as internet encryption devices. Let me explain. Randomness is extremely important for secure encryption. Each new key a computer uses to encrypt data must be truly random so that an attacker won't be able to figure out the key and decrypt the data. However, computers are designed to provide predictable outputs based on a given input. They are not designed to produce the random data needed for creating unpredictable encryption keys. To produce unpredictable data necessary for strong encryption, a computer must have a source of random data, and the real world turns out to be a great source of unpredictable randomness. This is where the lava lamps come in. Lava lamps are consistently random, and the lava or oil blobs in the lava lamp never take the same shape twice. Because of this, a group of lava lamps happens to be a great source of random data. To collect this data, the company Cloudflare has arranged about 100 lava lamps on a wall in the lobby of their headquarters with a mounted camera pointing towards them. The camera takes photos of the lamps at regular intervals and sends the images to Cloudflare servers. All digital images are stored by computers as a series of numbers, with each pixel having its own numerical value. So, each image becomes a string of numbers that the Cloudflare servers use as a starting point for creating encryption keys. And like I said, it's in the lobby of their headquarters, so you can go visit it anytime. And since you will be in the image that they send to their servers, it actually increases the randomness of the data. So something as simple as a group of lava lamps is able to offer extremely strong internet encryption.
When this teenager was found murdered, very disturbing information about years prior was revealed. It was 1995 in Somerville, Massachusetts. Deanna Kremen was a 17-year-old local girl with dreams of becoming a school teacher. She'd been babysitting local children in the area for a while and was passionate about child development. She'd been working part-time at a local shop for a few months. Her colleagues described her as a friendly and positive girl. Tragically, on the 30th of March, she was found dead. The evening prior, she'd gone to see her 18-year-old boyfriend, Thomas LeBlanc. They'd been together for about a year at this point. She was due home by her curfew, which was 10 p.m., but she never made it home. Some boys were walking to school the following morning and made a horrifying discovery. Deanna's body was lying partially nude next to a fence. She'd been strangled to death. Now, police interviewed her boyfriend, Thomas, who told them that he'd walked her halfway home and then they'd gone their separate ways. Just days later, police announced that they were looking into local man Charles Houghton, who was 36. He was a fireman in the area. They also announced that they were looking for an unknown male between the ages of 40 and 45 who was about 5'10". They believed the mystery man to have been in the area at the time of the murder. However, there were very little leads and the case soon went cold. Interestingly, shortly after the murder, Thomas's mum Susan was granted a restraining order from him. She chillingly stated, "When Tommy goes into a rage, I fear that my life is in jeopardy." It's reported that on multiple occasions he'd thrown furniture at her, and she stated that living with him was like living in a prison. Now, at first, people didn't know whether this was obviously the trauma of losing his girlfriend that was causing this. However, it was revealed that years prior to the murder, he had anger issues. It was revealed that when he was younger, he'd on multiple occasions shot his mum's cat with a BB gun. He moved away from the area after Deanna's death and stopped cooperating with police. Her family are still pleading with the public to come forward if you have any information. Her murder remains unsolved to this day. A junior doctor was murdered by her husband for celebrating a year of training. It was the 14th of April 2023. Gwendolyn Amsrala was just 28 years old and living in Las Vegas. She was excited to go out with a friend on the evening in question to celebrate a milestone in her medical career. However, the next morning, operators would get a horrifying call. Gwendolyn's husband, Shiva Gummy, aged 33, had apparently been opposed to his wife going out that evening. When she returned home that night at 9 p.m, her husband wasn't there. He actually returned home at 11 p.m. It was then that Gwendolyn was brutally killed. Shiva apparently rang police at 8:15 a.m. the following morning, stating, "I want to die, but I'm not dying." He told the dispatcher he was locked in the bedroom and had stabbed himself 5 hours earlier. He then told them that his wife was lying next to him. He coldly stated, "She's dead," and then refused to answer any further questions. When police raced to the scene, they were let into the building by Shiva's mother-in-law. Police forced entry into the locked bedroom and found a horrifying scene. There was a huge bloody knife on the floor. Gwendolyn lay with open stab wounds, as did Shiva. Tragically, Gwendolyn was pronounced dead. Shiva would plead guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to a shockingly short term of between 10 and 25 years. Residents in Salford are calling what's happened in the area like something out of a horror film. Human remains have been found in 3 locations across Salford, which started when a headless torso was discovered in the area. A horrified dog walker made the discovery recently, which was a male torso wrapped in plastic. A major investigation was launched on the 4th of April when a member of the public found a lower back and a thigh wrapped in cellophane at Kersal Dale. Police taped the area off and sent dive teams into the reservoir. Police believe that the body parts belonged to just one male victim, a man in his 60s. They believe that he passed away around the end of March. They believe that he knew two men, one aged 42 and one aged 68. Now, it's also believed that the pair lived alongside the victim. The two men have now been arrested for murder. Police state that they are looking at 4 crime scenes in Salford and Greater Manchester and have called the situation a complex and challenging case. A man who attempted to murder a teenager and left her for dead in the woods has been released. It's a miracle that Ashley Reeves survived an attempted murder, but now her attacker is walking free. It was the 29th of April 2006 in Belleville, Illinois. At around 2 a.m, officers found 17-year-old Ashley Reeves just moments from death. She'd been left in the woods to die for over 30 hours. Paramedics rushed her to hospital and placed her in an induced coma. She was actually in such a bad way that they'd initially thought she was dead. 2 days prior to this, Ashley told her parents that she had an interview to attend. She was in a relationship with a boy called Jeremy Smith at the time, and she took his car to drive herself to the interview. When she didn't come home, her parents were extremely worried. They called authorities and began the hunt. Officers later discovered her boyfriend's abandoned car, and inside were a change of clothes that Ashley had taken to change into after her interview. That's when they discovered Ashley nearby. She'd been strangled with a belt and had her neck broken, but miraculously she was still alive. Police discovered a man named Samson Shelton was the last person to contact her. He was her teacher and a professional wrestler. They arrested him on suspicion of attempted murder. He changed his story multiple times before eventually admitting to strangling the poor girl. He said he broke her neck with his arm. He said the pair had gotten into an argument over a relationship they were having. He said they had sex, and then after the vicious attack, he had thrown her into the woods. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, but has recently just been released on parole after serving just 17 years. It truly is a miracle that Ashley managed to survive this attack, and her story was made into a movie named Left for Dead: The Ashley Reeves Story.
How are you? Can I help you?
I'm just to tell you if...
Speak English? Very bien. Tell me. No. Yeah, but you come to me now, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Bye, bro. See you. So, we got a haircut for special treatment. Just came out. Back streets. Just closed the gates. Take a look at that. Got some corn here. Now we're gonna go and eat some more food. Alright, so that must have been the most expensive haircut I've ever had. $40? Yeah. I feel like they ripped me off a little bit. But it is what it is. Fuck. Damn. You know, Morocco's not cheap.
This couple were eaten alive by a grizzly bear, captured on harrowing video footage. It was October 2003. Timothy Treadwell was a 46-year-old grizzly bear enthusiast. He famously claimed that he felt more at home in nature with the bears than in normal human society. He spent a total of 13 summers in Alaska's Katmai National Park, documenting the giant creatures. He would stun people by how close he got to the giant animals. He said the animals understood him and that there was a mutual respect, and he would even occasionally wrestle with the baby cubs. Park rangers, though, were warning Timothy about how unpredictable the animals could be. This was what Timothy lived for, though. He seemed very willing to take the huge risk of getting up close and personal with these beautiful bears. Now, Timothy began to get complacent. On one occasion, he even left food open inside of his tent. Rangers had to warn him not to do this. Now, in the autumn in question, he was actually with his girlfriend Amy at the park. Now, they usually only stayed for the summer, but this year they were there much later into October. Bears are known to be a little bit more anxious and antagonistic this time of year as they are preparing for hibernation and food supplies are less. On the 5th of October, Timothy and his girlfriend were due to be picked up. They were getting a plane out of the national park, but when the pilot turned up, they were nowhere to be found. Near the campsite, the pilot stumbled upon something terrifying. A human rib cage lay on the floor. Park rangers were called and they were met by a terrifying bear. It tried to attack them, so they killed it. Human remains were later found in its stomach. They were the remains of Timothy and Amy. Timothy's video camera was later recovered from the campsite. The camera had captured the couple's brutal death. The audio from the camera was rolling and it picked up Timothy screaming that he was being killed out here. Amy then shouts at him to play dead and then encourages him to fight back. Tragically, they were both eaten by the grizzly bear.
Did you see what happened to Joe Rogan?
What happened with Joe Rogan?
What happened to Recent? Joe Rogan was on a podcast with a killer, a serial killer, across from him. And he did not know, bro. Sheldon Johnson, he came on to the Joe Rogan podcast to preach about unfairness in the U.S. justice system, right? Because he just got out of jail, you know what I mean? Saying like all these things about, oh, they're treating us bad, like this and that. But little did we know, he had a severed head in his freezer.
What?
A torso he threw out in his garbage outside of his apartment, fam.
Yeah.
And you know what actually happened? His neighbors, they overheard, please don't do this, please. And 2 gunshots. Pop, pop. Yo, the neighbors were suspicious. They ended up looking at the surveillance camera and they saw him moving out like a big bin. And this is where he had the torso of the body, bro.
Holy smokes.
Bro, really? 2 people? He did that and hopped on Joe Rogan's podcast.
So that's real life Jeffrey Dahmer.
He still had that shit in his freezer when he was on Joe Rogan, bro. He was talking with Joe Rogan about all of these things. And he was a killer right in front of him. Nobody knew.
The most mysterious secret societies. The Ordo Templi Orientis was founded at the beginning of the 20th century and is an international fraternal and religious organization claiming over 3,000 members. They're guided by their own religious system called the Law of Thelma, which essentially says whatever you do, do it out of love. Rituals for membership are highly stylized and include invoking ancient Egyptian gods and the devil. The Cadaver Society is a group of students at Washington and Lee University in Virginia in the United States. Neither the criteria for membership or the membership themselves are known. They have been in continuous operation since 1957, and although not much is known about them, it's believed that they're incredibly wealthy, as they frequently make large donations to the university as well as buy property, including a famous bridge that bears their name.
You saw that video?
Where he was wearing the crown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
It was like mocking how they already got him and they're already mocking him because they forced some guy to say something that he didn't want.
You know
That's
what
my
it looked
take.
like?
What?
So it looked exactly like what happened in the Hunger Games.
With
You seen-
PETA?
With PETA, yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, when I saw it, that's exactly what I thought of.
Exactly.
It was him in the same suit.
Exactly, the white suit that he walked on horse with. Exactly, it was weird.
What Ryan Garcia is saying, actually, is pretty much telling everybody, like, yo, they're gonna try and crucify me. They're gonna make me look like this is what happens to everyone that stands against us, this and that. Because you say Jesus so much, we're gonna treat you like how Jesus was. And did you back this?
What?
Like, before any of this happened, literally the day before he went on his rant, he did a promotion.
What was it?
And he walked in on a what?
On a horse.
On a horse. How did Jesus walk into Jerusalem?
On a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Revelation 6:2. He said, "And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He
It
who
was a white horse.
He who sat on it and had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer."
The biggest creature to ever exist has just been found frozen in ice, and it's still alive. Just 4 days ago, a team of NASA scientists were on their way to Antarctica in order to find meteorite samples to study. It was a 3-day trip, and on the first day, they had found only a few small meteorites, but nothing major. However, this all changed the next day when one of the scientists had noticed something strange in the distance. There was a large hole which looked to be like a meteor impact. The team immediately rushed there and saw that it was a cave leading down beneath the ice. The team proceeded down thinking they are about to stumble upon a large space rock, but that was not the case. They were disappointed to find out that it was just a cave, but just moments later, as one of the men pointed his flashlight at the walls, they found something which should not exist. An enormous octopus-looking creature with the body of a human was frozen and staring straight into their souls. It looked to be nearly 30 meters tall and had enormous wings. The team ran some tests and discovered that its blood is actually still flowing, meaning it is still alive. If you want to see the pictures which they took, comment view images.